Welcome to our channel. Whether you've just begun exploring the Gita and yoga or have spent a lifetime immersed in them, this is your space. Here, beginner or expert doesn't matter. Only one thing matters. Come with curiosity, come with an open mind. Because what you'll hear here might not just expand what you know, it might just shatter it. Let's get right into it. Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityor mam amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. What if I told you the very first chapter of the Gita that you've been reading all your life doesn't even exist? Sounds impossible, right? But it's true. And before we get there, we need to talk about something deeper. Because this isn't just about the Gita, it's about how we approach any knowledge. We've all heard these slogans: be open-minded, question, don't believe blindly. Even at work, we keep hearing things like change is the only constant, unlearn to relearn. But here's the trap. When new information comes to us, we rarely take it for what it is. We filter it through our lens, shrink it to fit our experience, shape it into our definition. The real test is this. Can you walk away from what's been repeated for centuries to face what's actually true? Think of it like this. All your life, you've only learned to pour water from a mug into a bucket, and it's worked fine. The bucket was the biggest container you'd ever seen, and the mug was enough to empty any source of water into it. But one day, the task is for you to pour water from an ocean. But out of habit, you still reach for that same little mug. Worse, you assume that that ocean's water can somehow be emptied into this bucket. And here the mug and the bucket aren't really the problem. The problem is believing that that's the only way. That belief and that mindset becomes your limitation. And then what do? We blame the ocean for showing us something so vast, so expansive. The ocean is showing us that the bucket we've relied on all our lives isn't enough. And instead of us expanding to the size of the ocean, we demand that the ocean shrink to the size of our bucket. And this is a problem. It's not just theory. It affects us in our lives every single day. Our old mental containers don't allow us to hold bigger truths even when it's shared. One such belief has affected our civilization for centuries and held us back more than we realize. Through invasions, colonization, and relentless conditioning, the caste system has been accepted, practiced, and passed down as an unquestionable truth. Here's the truth about it. There is no caste system in any Vedas. The Vedas speak of Varna system, which is not a system based on hierarchy or birth. But the caste system has been hammered into us so hard, we accept it without even blinking. Caste ties identity to birth, binding people into a permanent chain that divides us perpetually. Varna is not by birth. Krishna says in the Gita, Varna is decided by Guna Karma Vibhaga. Division of Varna is based on gunas, on qualities, and on karma, mental tendencies and how we take actions. This is not a hierarchy by birth. We haven't just accepted someone else's definition of a caste system that chains and divides us even to this day. We've lost our own Varna system that is designed to enable society's spiritual and material evolution. If we truly want to return to our cultural roots, we cannot keep accepting versions of truth shaped by centuries of distortion. Distortions crafted with the clear intention of stopping our civilization from ever evolving. To this day, we are still paying the price for it. The price of not uncovering the true essence of our scriptures. Restoring the original essence of our scriptures means reviving knowledge that is powerful enough to rewrite the very future of our civilization. Now, how do we do that? Where do we begin? It begins where every real shift begins, from our own internal boundaries. The boundaries that decide what we are willing to question and what are we too afraid to touch. If we really want to explore the Gita, we must be willing to start from the scratch. And by that, we don't mean start reading chapter 1, verse 1. Willingness to start from scratch is not the same as starting from the beginning of what already exists. It means to challenge its very structure, to break the basics, to re-examine the most obvious things we've been told. We've normalized so many ideas about the Gita that we've never even questioned them. Scholars have known now for centuries that the Upanishads are unique. Yet almost everyone repeats the same line. The Gita is a summary of the Upanishad. Perhaps even the most learned hesitate to challenge it, knowing it could invite opposition, criticism, even outright rejection. And so we nod, we agree, and we move on. But what happens when something untrue gets repeated for so long and it stops being questioned? It starts to feel normal. It starts to feel obvious. The Gita calls itself a Yoga Shastra, but we've accepted without question that since yoga is beyond asana, there is no reason for asana to appear in the Gita. But we've never asked why leave it out. Why isn't it connected? Asana is not yoga, but asana is definitely part of yoga. Why is there no mention of it? We don't ask because it's never been asked. And by never questioning the way that the Gita has been framed as a summary of the Upanishads, not a Yoga Shastra, and never even questioning the existing order of chapters and verses, we've normalized a very wrong understanding. And so, millions keep searching for truth within these constraints. Even scholars and interpreters work inside the same frame, trying to offer something new. But here's the problem. If the frame itself is wrong, you'll never see what lies beyond it. That's why Swamiji went back to the original mantras to uncover the Gita's true purpose and intention and to rebuild it free from all these constraints. The result was a revelation. A truth we all sense deep down but haven't been able to access it until now. Here's the truth. The first chapter of the Gita, Arjuna Vishada Yoga, is not the first chapter. That story of Arjuna feeling dejected has been the starting point for every explanation. It sets the stage for Krishna's teaching. It became an accepted reasoning for why Krishna had to teach the Gita to Arjuna. But there is more. Not only is this not the first chapter, this story is simply not there. The entire chapter just does not exist. Think about the ripple effect of this. If this chapter isn't actually the beginning, and if it doesn't even exist, then the very premise we've used to understand the Gita shifts. This means the emotional anchor, Arjuna's despair, is not the foundation. Krishna's words aren't merely a response to a relatable human conflict, but something else, something far more intentional. If the starting point itself has been misunderstood, then how much of what we know is built on these misinterpretations? Maybe that's the real reason that it's so hard to accept. The moment you pull out one brick, especially the first brick, the entire wall of what we know starts to shake. But are you willing to see the truth, even if it means letting go of everything you've believed in until now? If there's any resistance that comes from unanswered questions or doubts, we welcome those. In fact, we'd love to hear them. And while you do that, let me take you one step further. If chapter 1 is not the real chapter 1, and if it doesn't even exist, what is the right sequence? How is the Gita structured? The Gita is organized in sets. The first set of chapters, chapter 1 to 4, deal with tamas. They focus on developing the body, mind, and energy, and how to raise the Kundalini Shakti. This lays the foundation. Chapter 5 deals with sattva, with truth. It answers objectively what is truth. It gives us a measuring scale to recognize the falsehood of the world, and it shows how our actions can be aligned to move towards the truth. This is the lens that clears the fog, so you can see the reality as it is. Armed with this lens of truth and with a healthy body, mind, and energy, the last set of chapters, chapters 6 to 18, deal with rajas, about engaging with the world, to be successful in the material world and to evolve spiritually, to be a yogi. This is why the right sequencing matters. The sequence isn't just a table of content, it's a yogic process, a specific asana, a principle arranged in a deliberate order designed to awaken Kundalini Shakti. Get this order wrong and you lose its very integral essence. The mantra we play on every video in this channel, Asatoma Sadgamaya, is also connected to the Gita at a deeper level. It summarizes the essence of the Gita. The movement from falsehood to truth, from tamas to sattva, from darkness to light, and from death to immortality. This is the essence of Gita. And now I'll ask you, are you willing to discover what's true? Or are you here to defend what you've been told so far? The Gita doesn't need our defense. It doesn't need us to guard our existing beliefs. It needs us to live it, to experience its truth. And for that, it needs us to first shatter even our most sacred assumptions. Every time we cling to what's always been said, we shrink the Gita and we shrink ourselves. But the moment you say, I'm willing to break my boundaries, even the ones that feel unbreakable, the Gita stops being limited to a philosophy and becomes an experience in your body. Think back about what we've discussed today. Which parts made you feel uncomfortable? Were there parts that were too hard to accept? Was it the idea that chapter 1 doesn't exist? Was it challenging to think of Gita's chapters concluding with asanas? Was it that the caste system is alien to us and that Varna is not by birth? Remember, whatever it is, these boundaries aren't set by the Gita. They're set by you. And the Gita's wisdom will only flow as far as you allow it to flow. So, if you dare to move even one of those boundaries today, the Gita you thought you knew will no longer be the same. And neither will you be the same. Tell me in the comments. I want to hear what shook you, what challenged you, and most importantly, what are you still questioning? In the next video, we'll uncover the right sequence of the Gita's chapters and explore aspects that could completely shift the way you see it. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for watching.